Okay. I think we are live. Let me just make sure that everything is running as it should before I greet you guys. Welcome, everybody, to the Overthinking Football Show. My name is George McQueen. I'm your host. This show is on every Monday to Thursday, 7 p.m. And then also every Friday at 12:30, where my members, today's show is for members, the people who contribute towards the show financially. We have a WhatsApp group where we discuss all types of footballing matters, and sometimes you'll hear them on the show as well. So on Fridays, they get to decide what the topic is going to be, and they essentially run the show from their side. And it's an open free for all as part of the perks of being part of the Overthinking Football community. If you want to join, you just go over to YouTube, click on subscribe, and then click on join, and you'll be able to, just for 20 Rand a month, get access to the WhatsApp group, and also get access to me, get access to the gents and ladies that are part of my community, and also some very riveting conversations that go on for ages, voice note after voice note, picture after picture, stat after stat. It's a really cool place. Today we've decided to discuss a situation and expand on it a little bit. Now, for those who don't know, Mamelodi Sundowns is going to be playing TP Mazembe tomorrow. Part of the issue was that they didn't have a venue, because at the same time, the Blue Bulls are going to be playing the DHL Stormers, which is one of the bigger games in rugby. It's almost a derby level game. So that means that Mamelodi Sundowns couldn't use Iloftas, and that meant that they had to go out and try get a different stadium. They tried at FNB, but FNB, because Chiefs also has a game tomorrow and they are the lead tenant, couldn't allow it to happen. So they finally decided that Lucas Moripe would be the venue of choice for the TP Mazembe game. Now, I know we're jumping off on the Sundowns matter, but previously in the season, we had a similar issue with Stellenbosch FC, who wanted to play a game, had to play a game. I was calling knockup, if I'm not mistaken. They wanted to play a game at the Danny Craven Stadium, and there was a concert happening there. They went over to neighboring Cape Town, and all of those stadiums were also taken, and it led to that team, Stellenbosch, having to play a home game all the way in KZN. So today's conversation is going to be about stadiums, teams and stadiums. Why don't we own stadiums? Can they afford stadiums? Should we be expecting certain teams to own stadiums already as we look at it? But I'm going to leave it to the guys who are on the call. Welcome, everyone. How are you guys doing?
Good, man.
So I don't know. I don't know who wants to start us off and give a little background to the conversation we were having on the WhatsApp group.
The one who started it. I want to hear what led him. What led his spirit to
He's
go.
not here. He's not here. Let me give it, okay.
He was spotted by his friends. His friends are here.
Let me start then with Malume Kutso. Malume Kutso. Kick it off for me.
Like says through the hourglass throughout the days of our life. These things are always being put on me, but it's fine. Mr. Uti, we had a conversation about AMA basics. I don't know, Truly just entered the group and the chat, but it's fine. We had a conversation about AMA basics of running a football team. And we were talking about AMA cones, jerseys, and which is true, those are AMA basics. But the biggest basic, in as much as it's expensive, is a football pitch. Where do you play a football pitch? And I think it's only second to a football kind of game, a ball, an actual ball. It's a ball and it's a football pitch. Yet we see it's not prioritized in this country. I understand. And there are different reasons as to why it seems as if it's not prioritized. I'll touch on the Orlando Pirates because no one has asked. I'm going to choose this to segue into it. People ask, okay, why does Pirates not have a steady home ground? And I'm glad with you clarified in the WhatsApp group that the owner, the president, the chairman of the Pirates, actually does have some sort of ownership of the Orlando Stadium and Ellis Park. However, it cannot be tied to Orlando Pirates. Why? I understand where he comes from, Mr. OT, as Ivan Koza, because there's a lot of skepticism about who owns Orlando Pirates. He's not called the owner; he's called the chairman, and he's very aware of this. Which one day, should he pass, his children are gonna have to fight a strong battle to own the team. So the less assets he buys for acquires for the Pirates, the better. Even your home base, he's doing it on purpose with a local renter, so that should he perish, he can just tell his children, "Well, their home base, I had bought it through a certain company, and Pirates was renting to that company. And that company is yours. Wena Pirates uyeke aborulane nabo Tomosono by Tat." You know why I'm citing aborulane? Because they are very vocal. If you listen to them, they are very vocal with the Pirates. Yeah, Mr. Uti. When he left Sundowns initially, he said he's going back home. He's going to fix his home. It's his father's team, and it's not a secret. We all know his father, I think, started the Orlando Pirates, if I'm not mistaken, or his grandfather started the Orlando Pirates. Yeah, I understand. So now, why would you, knowing very well which this thing is gonna bubble one day, why would you invest all your resources 99 and acquire these things, knowing which your kids are gonna suffer in the future? And you can see with I'm not Angmazi personally, but I don't think his son is as strong as him. I'm talking about Ivan Cause. I don't think he's as cutthroat as him. So the day push comes to shove, they can just say, "I Tatani Pirates and Bafetu, Tinaso Satellite and Zechin." Now, speaking of teams with less complications, Mr. Uti, where it's clear Uti, it's Dr. Mtsipe's team, it's Tatem Town's team. I feel those teams should have a home crowd. I feel those teams should know, especially with the Chiefs, Mr. Uti. We all know if NPC Chiefs. We all know how passionate they are, even though lately the stadium is quite empty. You understand? And same as the Sundowns. Chiefs has also moved around quite a lot. You understand? You see, when the Koni Kuta Lapa, I remember last year, the Koni Kuta Dragon what. Chiefs were advised to find an alternative stadium to play at. You understand? The only team that is consistent in terms of home ground is Orlando Pirates, and we've now learned it's because the owner somehow has control of that stadium. You understand? In Sundowns, they spend 57 million. Well, no, the 57 is for the supporters. They spend 50 million on players like Abo Allende. They spend 50 million on Abo Martinez. They win 75 million. They spend, wait. Oh, okay, sorry.
Baba.
They won 75 million a cup. They've been winning 15 million for 6 years now. Our league. Are you telling me you can't take those funds and invest them in getting a home ground? And the home ground, the Sundowns, does not need to be the size of the Orlando Stadium. It does not need to be size of FNP because it's over empty. Just a nice high school stadium for 57 fans will do for them. You understand? So why banganayo? One grandstand, because vele bahlala bathi baqolisa grandstand, bayethathe le grandstand bayibeke a TV. That's ibona khona, so we can enjoy them, so that bastop lento for free. You understand? Why don't invest in a stadium? Because they are such a big team, they are well run. That's where it's in
Hey. Why those Malume Kuto are going so well. Let me go down the
So,
line then. Let me go down
yeah.
the line. Maronza, what do you think of this situation? Is a stadium, man?
Let's you know what, I think he has a point there, but only myself Sundowns or I'm keeping it this guy. But when you look at it, right, let's go to Pretoria. Pretoria, there's Caledonian Stadium.
Yeah.
It's a ghost town now. It's in the CBD, just next to Mandela Drive, just there. It is a it was one of the famous stadiums for super sport and all those things. Why can't you buy that place? I think it won't even cost millions of rands, even if it costs millions because it's a municipality stuff, but it won't be that big, And then let's come to Soweto. Soweto, where Chiefs was founded, 3 streets away, there's Middleland Stadium. 3 streets. I'm not Milenjuzan. 3 streets. It's 1, 2, 3. Then you turn like Kaizer Chiefs, like Kalekon, the main house, the clubhouse, the first clubhouse, whereby there's a ground next to Indlule. When you jump three streets, there is a stadium, which is Middleland Stadium. Big, right? The yard is big. Only the grandstand, which is this one-sided and all that. Okay, they had a problem with the drain. They had a problem with the drain, but I think Chiefs can solve that thing. They can solve the drain stuff. They can do that. They have money. So why can't they go and buy Middleland Stadium, which is next to their house, and then reform it and then make it something big for them? Because that stadium can be the same as Orlando Stadium if you look at the whole yard, the whole yard, and on top of Middleland Stadium, there's another ground whereby they can make a parking and on top of it, which is Middleland Zone 5. 2 grounds there next to the school. So it is, you know what, it can happen for Chiefs, but I'm talking about Chiefs and Pirates and Sundowns now, which is, you know what, they can have Ilentuzan, they can have stadiums with like this, but I don't know what are they doing, but this is shocking for most of the team. I feel with South Africa, right? We 6 teams supposed to have stadiums. Let's be honest.
Okay.
They had to be owning stadiums. What is the use of us going to pay 40 rand per ticket and then 30 rand is being taken away by sponsors and then Pirates receive 10 rand? Doesn't make sense. If they're still saying they're running the soccer based on business, then they don't know how to run a business. Because you have to invest and say, let me refurbish Middleland Stadium, let me refurbish Ilentuzan Caledonian Stadium and restart afresh and then build a new thing. Yes, I'll lose money. Yes, I'm struggling as a team. Let me remain at the PSL level. Let me save my status and rebuild the Middleland Stadium. And then after 10 years down the line, I'll be okay. Simple as that. That is my take on this.
Okay. Let me go to Agent. Hey, they're coming at the team, but what do you think of this stadium situation in South Africa?
They're coming for my team, eh? But as the wife say, if you do live in a glass house, eh, it's best you don't throw stones, but it's okay. I think, let me start with this one, which is dead, eh? Let me finish it, eh? Because this one is an easy fixture. Eh? I think people I'm glad Abutu Kuto at least. The other one thing I like about Abutu Kuto is he's a maverick, eh? He's like a kid with a machine gun. He shoots on sights everywhere. So Chiefs fans sometimes they forget that he can side with you and he'll shoot at you also. I'm glad he mentioned the car thing, So the situation that is facing Sundowns is not uniquely Sundowns. It's not uniquely Sundowns. I like the example that Aputukuso gave. Second example was the whole Justin Bieber thing when you guys were supposed to face Amazulu, and Justin Bieber had a concert. You guys were forced to look for alternative venues, and at the time the conversation was, they didn't know, the stadium management didn't know Chiefs would reach M10-8. So the arrangement that I see is Chiefs has a first of right refusal, and the 15 home fixtures, they are guaranteed to have the stadium for their use. But other days, the stadium has chooses, But
I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
And I will go to the Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers, Sundowns, I would say Sundowns and Pirates are the only 2 teams that have some sort of ownership of stadiums by proxy. That's important. By proxy. Yeah. With Pirates, these the Ellis Park Precinct, something called, where Pirates, Inter Lesego, and Ellis Park Stadium P2 Ltd, they make up 51% of the ownership.
Mm.
So Pirates, Inter, Lesego, Ellis Park, those are three companies that have 51% of the ownership. And then we move on to the Blue Bulls. The Blue Bulls owns Loftus Versfeld. And I wish the conversation was not about Sundowns. I wish the conversation was, why is it that rugby teams can easily own stadiums? Why not football teams? You know, but since they're trying to attack my team, I just focus on them. With Sundowns, Motsepe owns Blue Bulls, hence Blue Bulls. By that virtue, Sundowns also has some sort of ownership into the Loftus Stadium by proxy, you know. Hence, also by AFL give them money. It's like invest in stadiums. Sundowns invested, I think, 51 million into rebuilding the lawn and stuff like that because they assume that it's they own it by proxy, you know. And I think I just wanted to clear that, just make it clear. But I think the bigger question in general is to build a stadium is very costly, you know. I think they said, how much did it build? 3.4 billion USD to build Moses Mabhida Stadium. And when you are a team like Pirates and Chiefs, where the model is we're building this based on profit, that is not a joke of a money, you know. I know you have the biggest fan base and everything like that, but how long will it take you to recoup the money? And while you are not going under in terms of debts and everything like that, you know, because you'll have to maybe take bonds and stuff like that, you know. So I think, to be fair to most teams, is extremely costly, you know. And then lastly, my point that I wanted to make with Sundowns specifically was perhaps maybe a Motsepe can afford. I don't know if he's worth, if he has more, he has 3.4 billion. I don't know, but if he has it, he can afford it because Sundowns model is not based on profit and stuff like that. I want to educate the few people who are not Sundowns fans here that Sundowns for the longest of times have been trying to build a stadium in its ancestral home, HMPJ Stadium. But the complications with the stadium has always been the municipal government and the central government, where everyone is refusing. You know, I think in one of the interviews, Yogesh Sai, the legal representative of Sundowns, said they've even suggested that let's rebuild the stadium and then you guys give us 100-year lease and then you guys can take it after 100 years. And still that hasn't materialized. So with Sundowns issue, it's not necessarily a money issue, it's a red tape issue. That's why Sundowns has not been able to build a stadium. But I heard Panyaza Lusufi, unless since it's silly season, he was campaigning. I don't know if he was campaigning or he was not. Hopefully he was not, but it's silly season. You have to take what politicians say with a pinch of salt. Yeah, but Panyaza Lusufi did say the negotiations have resumed and hopefully that will be resolved soon and Sundowns can own a stadium. But I don't think even if Sundowns owns a stadium, I don't think that should be a yardstick like Abutu Kuzo is saying, that should be seen as a basic thing for teams like Kaizer Chiefs and others to build a stadium. We have to be fair, you know. Yeah.
And I know Cape Town City was trying to do the same with that stadium in Cape Town. I'm forgetting the name. Cape Town City tried to also do a deal to take that stadium and build it up and then do some sort of deal with the municipality. And they also staggered there a little bit as well. So it's not that they're not trying. But I think what changed my mind is when I found out that there's separate ownership groups that are headed by our football guys that have ownership in stadiums. And that's where I was like, man, this thing is not as hard as we think it is. Theo, tell me, what do you think of...
Can I say that? Can I say on that? The thing is, you have to own it in terms of, it has to be what is it called?
A consortium or conglomerate,
yeah. Yeah, consortium, of companies, you know. And like Abutukus was rightly saying, imagine you're on the Pirates and you invest a lot of money and you don't know where the company goes. It can collapse. And what happens then? So it's a very risky thing, to be honest.
Okay. Let me go to Theo. Theo, what do you think of the stadium situation, man? Nah, Babanye, they don't have homes. Nati, outside of league games, we don't have homes. PSL teams have been struggling sometimes. Makoni concert, about you have to go from Stellenbosch to KZN to go play home games. Uthi ngalendaba the.
Let me greet you, Mr. Otsi, and greet everyone. Oh man, Friday session, guys, is always the best. Man, hey, Mr. Otsi, as I explained back then, guys, sweet at the young limas. I can't answer, so that's why I'm Yamalal. Mr. Otsi, I think it's a straightforward issue, guys, that we know it will never be addressed. I heard the agent asking, I don't know was it agent or Marons, I would say, why is the Iraq having like nothing upper hand than football? Because guys, firstly, Iraq they do not allow politicians or politics to take control of many things. They know how to separate the football Iraq into the sports, into the politicians. And whereas for us, it's the opposite of that. We have people who are in big positions, Abo Kos, Abo Kaizer, allegedly, who are busy having deals in Abo ANC. We know those things, but allegedly. Now, for an example, who Pobim Taung stole 150 million. Now, that's not allegedly, Mr. Oti. It was proven. 150 million from Stadium Salam Pumalanga. And then still today, he's a working free man and nothing happened. So we know, Uti, there's a lot of things that involve politicians when it comes to football. And most they also mentioned them. Abakala Ipola, how did they study Jabo and what were the challenges and stuff like that. So that alone, I think it played a very big part Uguti why certain big teams don't have stadiums. Abonjana Chiefs and Pirates for me, Mr. Uti, at this point in time, I think they should be having stadiums that they can say it's 50% owned by them or not maybe 51%. Yeah, but it's so painful with a team like Kaizer Chiefs, man. Let me not mention the Sundowns the Pirates because yes, man, yeah, but I want to choose Mr. Uti when you look at the fan base, the support, the sponsors, everything that you can ever imagine, Chiefs has it. If Chiefs was to say we want to do a project, I mean, for an example, look at the village, guys, man. Let's not compete. Yeah, we'll compare the village in a CC ground, yes, Sundowns. So sorry to say that, anyways. But I'm saying, yeah, you want an village in Jan, so see. Yeah, well, when you see those
And
things,
this is
guys,
personal,
no, I'm not. But in Kurmama facts, Mr. Otsi, I mean, everyone wants to go to the village. Even the pirates now, yeah, damn it, why didn't we think of that? They know, so I think for me, is exactly what you said. It's not like Chiefs or Pirates or Sundowns haven't tried, Mr. Otsi. They've tried, but it's so painful. The country is more like Swaziland at some point. They want to own certain portions of the project that you are doing. So obviously, that alone will create some hindrances. For an example, as I was saying, if it is Mr. Uchi was to say we wanted to do a project, so, there will be many sponsors. But the painful thing is even government will want to play a part in that. And immediately government becomes involved in football, guys. It's already dead. I can make an example. Look at the Madrid when they built Ipenapoa, Mr. Uchi. They had a stadium that they were playing in while they were building Ipenapoa. And you knew Guti, that stadium was going to be a super stadium. I understand. They own the rights. They just went on a certain site back in the way, but without any problems. I can make an example in the end of Amazon, and I know people might not relate. If certain people you want to go and build a church somewhere, the government, Mr. Oti, they check which can they gain anything from that environment. You understand? So with football, it's even worse because if Nangabe they have to say to each Chiefs will give you 51% within only FNP. Just give us maybe a billion or 500, half a billion, for an example. Then you'll own 50% of the FNP, maybe for 50 years or 100 years. Still, the problem is about Gucci. They want to benefit as well. If Casper Investor says, I want to fill up FNP, they're not going to come and beg Chiefs. Yeah, but they think about their pockets as well. Unless our own teams, Mr. OT, they sit together, achieve the Pirates and Towns, because Msipu guys, we cannot shy away from that. Msipu has people that he can talk to. And I don't agree with agent when he says, Msipu don't need agent to take any money from his own pocket. Msipu can talk to people abroad, guys. They can build the stadium for his Sundowns. But the problem, municipality, the municipality is gonna want a share or a certain of percentage, which now even as something that they can gain from there alone. So I think that could be the problem. But yeah, like sometimes living underground. Because whenever 56, kuyafana ababoleki lapha kubomba Zulu. So bayelezi nabo baye Kaizer Mr. Utsi.
Hey, Mara. You guys in your party show straight. You brought the subject up. What is your situation? What is your opinion on these this discussion we're having about stadiums?
Afternoon, gentlemen, and everyone listening to the show. Look, I think there was a very important point that was made about politicians and politics also having an influence in our football and in administration of football. In terms of ownership, it has become very difficult, for football clubs to have 100% ownership of stadiums, because of administrations and land rights, also because municipalities and the central government own part of the land, that these people would want to utilize to build stadiums now. And then now when you come and you say, okay, this is where I'd like to develop, you only come in as a developer. So that would mean they will give you a lease to that land, right? But you will never have ownership rights of that land. Meaning everything that you're going to be doing business-wise on that land, they get a certain portion, which is the unfortunate part. If you look at a team like Black Leopards own Toyando Stadium, right? Because Ndade Tidiela had his own connections that are political. When he lost his status from the PSL to the lower league, and he lost the status at the lower league to go even now to an even lower league, he was like, no, this is not going to happen. I'm buying a status, right? So that he can keep his fan base, because that's where he makes most of his money, with those gate takings. And another point I'd like to raise is municipalities also being, I think also they're causing this delay of ownership, in a sense that you have a team like Chiefs, right? They have a contract with Polokwane Tourism and Municipality, so that they can bring some of their home games there, right? So for Chiefs, it's business for them. They're like, okay, this is a cut. We're going to get gate takings, but these people also, that would mean we're not going to pay any fee to lease the stadium, right? They're giving it to us for free because we bring in numbers, so that would grow in terms of tourism and the economy. When we bring our game there, all the people that we're able to attract, they bring in money into the municipality's economy. They've done that with Moses Mabila, Kaizer, and they've done it, I think, with also Gqeberha municipality. So those things, for me, I see them as gatekeeping also. Teams like Chippa United, they'll never be able to own a stadium, but they're only team in the Eastern Cape that's playing in the highest league in the country. And then my last point would also be what was mentioned about the ownership rights, right? There are bodies and people within the PSL structures that are involved in the ownership of some of the stadiums. Like Cape Town City, John Committees was not very happy, because I remember he had investors from abroad to say, okay, guys, let's take on Athlone, let's fix Athlone, let it be the home of Cape Town City, and let's not allow any other events or any other teams coming to play there. That's our home ground, right? So we will manage and sustain and take care of that facility, because we're buying it out from the government. But the government says, no, go and talk to this body or this corporate body, because the corporate body is the one that owns the rights there. And that has also created that gatekeeping to go on, because now if a team like Cape Town City, man, that has had investors from the time when they were AX Cape Town, and they still have investors now who are willing to say, we want to buy the stadium for you. But now when you go to stadium management, they say, no, go to the municipality. Municipality, says, no, go and speak to so-and-so. It becomes a long chain. At the end of the day, it doesn't work out. And there are now people who are given first preference, as to they can utilize the stadiums. Look at the Blue Bulls and Sundowns. You know, Blue Bulls apparently they're the owners of Konji King Loftus
Loftus.
Versfeld. Yes, right. And even Cape Town City, I think it's a Storm as the team that's from there, if I'm not mistaken. They are the owners of that Athlone Stadium, right? So if they are having games, the footballing teams will have to look for an alternative to go and play their games. You know, it becomes very difficult. But there's enough land in our country, my man, for these teams to buy, build, or buy existing structures like Godopsonville Stadium. You know, as one of the panelists did mention that in Soweto there are stadiums that they can buy, you know, and really develop those stadiums. But I think now it has become a thing of it's better to rent than to own, you know, in terms of looking after the facilities, you know, cutting the grass, you know, having people that take care of the facilities, the electricity that's being used every day, the water that's being used every day. So they feel that in terms of the budget, I rather spend it on renting than ownership, because ownership would cost me more, you know, in terms of running the facilities. I think that's my take.
Okay. Alison Tabby, welcome to the show, Alison Tabby. Alison Tabby. Oh, ke sharp ka Alison Tabby.
Sharp.
Alison Tabby,
Guys.
Okay, I then o ka re mamela ke tla gutla. Kumo, what is your take on the stadium situation of South Africa? And welcome to the show.
Hey, afternoon, everybody. Stadium take on our situation in SA, ne? I'm sorry, I just arrived. Are you guys still making fun of us for not having a stadium? I don't know.
Briefly.
Yeah?
It was at the beginning. At the beginning, Malume Kutu took some shots. And Theo took some shots, you know.
Okay. No, it's fine. Okay, ne? My guy, I'm just gonna hop onto the previous speaker's sentiments, ne? Like a lot of people. Okay. Let's say Cape Town City or Golden Arrows, they have their own stadium. But Lorena supporters, do we support them for they can maintain those stadiums? Ne? The only reason why I believe why municipalities won't sell or give the lease, okay, they manage the stadium the way they do, is because like to have such a huge monument, the upkeep on it's a lot. So that is why a stadium in modern day times, it has to be utilized for multi-purposes, the events and stuff. And or if there's an event there happening on the weekend, then whereby Beyonce or Carol Duplessis is performing all of us, and then Carol Duplessis, give example like is performing. Carol Duplessis, there. It makes sense. Where we go to level 10,000 people call of us playing against Sundowns, playing against Richards Bay, for instance. Or it doesn't make sense, and it's gonna give way to them. I get in the past, like Motsepe was supposed to buy Odi Stadium. It didn't happen. Right now, Ashifa Leia crash Odi Stadium. Okay. Okay, sharp. Odi Stadium is about like it's in disarray. HMPJ was supposed to be utilized. They long like a matter. If you walk past it, you know, a frame. There's nothing there. There aren't even seats. That's how the situation is. And guy, there's a lot of elements. Also, why? Let's study Reiki. Even if you try to buy, there's so many political interference and stuff. Mara, if you like, I wanna this other stadium next to my hometown, most stadium, but such a dear stars, Giant Stadium. It's a new stadium, but it was supposed to go all the way around the Marabelle fella halfway, get tender for whatever. Something happened, tender fella. Maraloco thing, so I get it, man. Situation at stadium in the Lamata, man.
Okay. Malamukus, I want to come back to you. You know, when I heard this consortium talk about Dr. Ivan Kaizer having ownership stakes in stadiums and things, a thought came to me. At what point does the PSL, does SAFA, or even the owners who sit on the executive or whatever, is there a situation where they could come together and maybe make it a situation where 40% of the stadiums are owned by the PSL and SAFA? They come in and then they do partnerships with teams, so that at the very least we know that the league has stadiums of its own, maybe one in 4 or 5 of the provinces, so that if somebody is stranded, they can go to those things. Could there be a little bit more power in the teams coming together and forming these consortiums?
I think I lost the question a bit. Very 30 marks for 10 lines.
Okay, let me put it like this. We know Dr. Ivan Kaizer is in a group of people that own Ellis Park and Orlando Stadium. We know that John Comitas had overseas sponsors or investors that wanted to come in and fund their stadium. Could they do a thing where they all come together and they say, as the PSL, with all of our different strengths, Rekadi Stadium, say 2, 3, 4, 5 nyana, and then what we do is those stadiums are owned by the PSL, and then if ever there's a situation where you don't have a stadium, or if ever somebody needs to go category A or whatever, they know that they've got these things in their pocket. Could something like that work?
It sounds like a great idea, no lie, Mr. OT, as a safety net of some sort. But I feel like it would go back to the question that you always ask, that are we letting teams get off a bit too easily? I understand. If now we're moving Ilona to a PSL, it would mean that these teams get the opportunity to just laze around, spend about 50 million on players instead of investing and paying rent on time. Instead of us seeing them being evicted, you understand, Mr. OT. So for me, I wouldn't really advocate for the PSL stepping into that arena, even though it would also make sense if they were to maybe have much smaller stadiums, you understand. Later on, there's a Chiefs Village.
Yeah.
Max Park, where you can just come and play with no supporters. Teams that cannot secure stadiums must be sent to those those sports facilities, sports bases, under 13 because they are behaving like under 13s and should be treated as such. You understand that, Mr. Oti? I'm all for teams that have the power. Let's be fair. Like Agent said, there are some teams that we cannot really expect them with. For example, Real AM. They just came up from nowhere. For us to expect to in a home base or maybe in the stadium, it could be an issue, I understand. However, maybe the biggest problem, even with us, is that when we think stadium, we think Moses Mabhida.
Yes.
We think FNB. But when you ask Lutin, which stadium Lutin, the house how many attendees, you will start seeing how big our stadiums are. You understand? We were left with Ian by the World Cup. And kudos to the World Cup. They came to us once in a lifetime experience. However, the impact that they left here is these huge halls, Mr. OT. These huge halls that we cannot, even the biggest team in Africa, when they play, you see each and every seat, each and every number. It's very empty. They need Orlando Pirates to fill the stadium. Even Orlando Pirates will be able to fill the stadium to FNP. So maybe an issue is what our mentality when you consider what this is. You understand that, Mr. Oti? I think we need to move away from thinking a stadium is an FNP, is a Moses Mabhida, is a Cape Town stadium, and accept that maybe, just maybe, what they did go Bloemfontein with that Dr. Mlimala Stadium is maybe what people should be following and understand. But Danny Creighton, as much as I always call it an inter-high stadium, I think it's necessary for a team like Stellenbosch, which will be a vibe, will be another feel. Even a team like Sundowns, Mr. OT. And as much as I go with them sometimes, they are for me, they have the most support, consistent after Orlando Pirates. And guys, let's be honest, even Orlando Pirates doesn't fill the stadium that much. But Orlando Pirates has the consistency, Sundowns has the consistency. I think there's one other team, I think it was Marispec United, that had a consistent attendance at stadium. Those teams benefit, Mr. OT, from much smaller stadiums, the ambience and all of that. But with PSL owning stadiums, it would be tricky, Mr. I don't want to move the responsibility from my team.
Okay. Let me go to Maronza. Maronza, I hear a lot of questions. I hear a lot of problems that have been brought up, but it seems as though each of the PSL's different owners have solved one or two of those problems on their own. You know, Comites got money. Dr. Ivan Koza got around the municipality issue. Surely, if they were to all come together and say, okay, as the PSL, let us buy the stadiums so that the PSL has those assets, and then also maybe we could say, okay, fine, we'll loan it out to it, not loan it out, we'll let our teams play at those stadiums and generate more revenue for themselves and the PSL. Why is that something that we should be looking at? Do you think it's a good idea, and why?
Yeah, you know what, I think we've been saying this, even though now when you look at it, when you go back to the archive, you'll see that we are talking the same thing, but in different topics. I don't think PSL is supposed to be involved. PSL is like a private company. SAFA is the one who can, you know what, when it comes to negotiating with the municipalities, because they're the mother body, which is the umbrella of football. So they're the one who's supposed to be responsible for those things, you know. But when you look at it, we're going back to saying, do PSL and SAFA are they in good terms? You know, so if not, then you'll come and go. Evan Koza can go there, but if they're not in good terms, is JD Jordan going to listen to them? No. So those are the things that are making the sense, because the SAFA is supposed to be the one who speaks for the teams, you know, who says to the municipality, to Lusufi and the presidency and all that, to say the because of soccer, we want the soccer to continue in South Africa. Also, we need to have the best teams in South Africa. We need to compete when we go to Africa. We need to compete when we go to the world. We need teams to have their own stadiums. You understand me? But now, when you look at it, the very same SAFA, if Ivan goes there, they're looking for something. As much I think one person has said, even though now I'm tending to SAFA rather than to go to the municipality, the SAFA, the very same SAFA will say, what are we going to benefit? That is the problem of in SA. Why Manchester? In Manchester, there's two stadiums in Manchester. Both of them, they're not using one stadium. Everybody is meant for himself. Everybody is using his own stadium. You know. Real Madrid has made a bigger stadium that can be turned to concert, can be a tennis court, can be whatever you want. You know, they take the grass underneath and then they put the top for you to you know. So why can't we do that as South Africans? Because of the benefits that others need from the teams, others need, which means reach. That is the problem that we're having. But I feel SAFA, they are the one who's supposed to be speaking for the teams, speaking for Ivan Koza, speaking for Kaizer Motaung, speaking for everybody. But now they cannot do that because why? They want to benefit also. That is the problem. As much as I show you about Caledonian, I'm still saying Sundowns can own that stadium like this, because why? If you pass there, you can see that Aksana Nissan Zagala, Middle Stadium, Uchan Budula Mina. And then if I go and say I want to own it, then they say no, it's a property of the government. But are they maintaining it? What are they doing with it? Because the very same kids will go and play there. You understand me? I said equal Zazal. Why can't if Chiefs, you want to tell me Chiefs can say no to schools playing a final of schools in Soweto to come and play at the Chiefs Stadium at Meadowlands? Will they say no? They'll never, because they'll be scouting also. So I feel there's no justice when it comes to whatever is happening in South African soccer. There's so many things that are happening, which it is all about somebody wants to milk somebody before somebody gets something. That is a problem that we're having.
Let me go to Agent. Agent, is there strength in numbers? That it feels as though John Comitas is having problems that Dr. Ivan has solved on the other side. Other teams that don't have money, John Comitas have solved the problem on the other end. Shouldn't they just get together and, even if it's separate from the PSL, get their own consortiums in, buy a couple of stadiums, and then, I don't know, do a deal with the PSL or whatever, so that the PSL knows that they've got stadiums of their own that they own? Is that a good idea?
Yeah, it is a good idea with just a few modifications, just like I think the other panelists have said. Firstly, I wanted to raise this with you when Theo raised the point that rugby has less interference. I think we should be cognizant of the fact that it's a white man's sport, and the legacy of apartheid makes it easy, or made it easy. So I don't want to go to that space, but it is a fun fact. And I think, not to sound like certain people and certain colors that football-wise I don't support and never support, but I think for me, just like most of the things, the government is not good at running things, you know? So I think it's just selfishness. I think was it Maronza was speaking before me? It's just pure selfishness from the government, because they can't maintain these things, you know? So for me, I think it should be a case of, if they do want money, you know, I think it will be easier if the Minister of Sports can sanction that the stadiums at least be shared 50-50 with certain stadiums, at least football stadiums, with SAFA, you know? And then SAFA can buy the stadiums and everything, the rights and stuff like that, you know, 50-50, that's what they want money. But I think for me, it shouldn't even be a transaction. It should be, it's still government, but we're taking the powers from municipality, because municipalities have a lot of activities, and football or pitches is the least of their concerns. Even parks are falling apart, you know, but I don't want to go there. So for me, if it were to me, I would take the stadium activities to a football side, SAFA and everything like that. But let's say for a start, 50-50, a municipality, a Minister of Sports through SAFA take the other ownership of 50-50. And then SAFA can say, okay, PSL or whoever, we have those rights, but as SAFA, we don't want to run at a loss. Is there anyone who's willing to lease these things from us? And then Abu Mutsepe, Abu Kaizer, Abu whoever, comités, and everyone can lease things from SAFA. I feel like if we go through the channel like that, it's easier than when teams individually go to the municipality, because it's going to be red tape, you know, the same way sometimes experience red tape. So yeah, I think that's my contribution.
Okay. Theo, like I said, Umutsipune Mali, committee says investors, Ivan has connections, Kaizer has got something. Shouldn't they just come together and say, guys, for the strength of a PPSL, Maswatengela Stadium, maybe I45 Nyana, and they can be our assets as the PSL. And Theo Magatlupegile and the team yake, we just say, okay, Theo, nice stadium, KZN, we're going to give it to you for the season. We're going to share revenue with you because you're part of the PSL, and we can make money, you can make money. Astupi muntu, magmeles dale. Do you think that would work in this situation?
I love what Maronza brought into the table in the PSL and stuff. We might overlook these things, but they are very vital. You cannot be mad about a football in South Africa, yet you are having a problem with a certain department of football in South Africa. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to be a disclaimer. You cannot have someone who's a premier of a certain province and also a president of a soccer federation. So that alone is just nonsense on its highest level. is supposed to choose one thing. Either we premier, you leave football, or you are in the football side, you leave being in the political side. Which are done, Mr. OT. And I know many people are gonna say, you know, I'm targeting it. Is I think for me is the downfall of our football, in a sense that, you know, first of all, Mr. OT, when 2010 came, they built the stadium. There was only one reason and one reason alone why they built Moses Mapida and Mbombela. It was for football reasons. There was no other reason, Mr. OT. Those reasons, the other reasons came after the stadium were built. Which, okay, we might do a music concept, we might borrow this and this, but the main purpose why the investors brought their money was for football. But now, if you have someone who's in football who's also a politician, so and also a leader of ISAFA, someone who's in charge of South African football in its all totality, a politician, that alone is your downfall. It's like we are saying the same things, just in different ways. Mr. OT, I'm saying in the sense that if Umtsipe could build a stadium, I know that for a fact, not just with his man, as I said before, there are many people who love that guy. Pesha, that guy Mr. OT used to rub shoulders, Naboba and Lo, president, the former president of USA, Uba and Lo, Papa, Lo, Bezimbi. So he was Trump. He was with those guys, Mr. OT. You can't tell me, Guti, there's no way they can give him money just Guti Stadium for a team. There's no way. Just that thinking, Guti, he knows, but even if he can do that, as long as he South Africa, or he municipality owns land, Mr. OT, it's a futile exercise. And also, even if our committees, they know good, their time is limited in South Africa, guys. That's why they are not putting they know they'll never put everything in, because they know, good, if shit goes bad, Mr. OT, they need to leave this country, and they cannot leave this country while they have assets here. So now, the only thing that they can do is to only just put a hand there and then just distance themselves. Abantu that we should be talking about, Kaizer, those are the people that I think can play a vital figure in making sure Umtsipe, as good man, he's a CAF president, Mr. OT. Why is not that benefiting us as South Africans? It's because we are dumb. Go to Morocco, go to Egypt, you'll see why they had presidents. You'll see Abu Al Ali what they have. You'll see those other teams that they have. But you come here, it's like it's a shit show. Yeah, but the past 8 years, the freedom it was just there for no reason. I'm sorry to use that. I'm sorry, but it's so painful, Mr. Otsi, to a sense whereby, okay, when he met was building Kaizer, but I don't know if you guys know the process. It took them a year or two, Mr. Otsi, to finish that stadium. They had a stadium that they were using. They had a project on the side. You understand that? That means they were given a go ahead. Guys, do whatever you want to do. This is your land. You have bought it. Whatever, I understand. But last South Africa, you'll never find that, Mr. Oti. All of a sudden, like if I'll make an example, Mr. Oti. There was a park around here. Imagine if the government will fight with you over a park. That is let's say when you want to buy the park, because you see the park is not being taken care of and everything, they will tell you, no, we can only lease it to you. Imagine they are leasing you something that belongs to them that they're not even taking care of. And when you have to pop out your money to maintain that thing, and after 5 years you are disappearing when you have left them the property. Then that's what I'm saying, Uti, as much as they can come together, Mr. Uti, as long as there's still political people who suffer, nothing is gonna change.
I've got a question that I want to ask, and I'm going to ask it as my final question to do with this. Before I do that, let me. Yes, Avelile. Let me go to Uchwele. Again, I think the reason why I'm asking this is that I used to think that there was so much red tape that was stopping teams from doing X, Y, and Z. But then I look at the situation honestly, and I go, okay, within PSL ownership and leadership, you have a guy who somehow figured out how to be part of an ownership group that owned part of the stadium, right? You have a guy that has the money and connections to be able to do as many stadiums, probably 2-3 stadiums on his own that he can organize. You have another guy who's saying that, no, I had the money was there to go and do this. Then you have another guy in the ownership group that is a premier. You have another guy, it seems as though all of the questions and answers that the PSL can have are literally sitting right there. They all sit in a room every couple of months as the executive, right? isn't there a thing that could be done where they come together and lama red tape wabo, or the red tapes we feel are there that they've all dealt with in different ways? They come together and PSL can have some assets and stadiums and we don't have to worry about these things. Why wouldn't that work?
You know what's our biggest issue? Our biggest issue is that we are being bullied by people with limited resources, right? Who are the administration or the government of today, right? They're the ones. But also the people that you mentioned, do they even see eye to eye? Do they sit together and say, guys, look, this is the problem that we have in our country, in football in our country. How do we come up with solutions, to better our football, to better our structures in football, and like holistically to make sure that we're one of the top leagues in the world, not only here in Africa, right? But I don't think that takes place. When Denis Jordan and Ivan Khoza meet, they talk about things that are not related to improving South African football, but they're talking about money, that is related to their pockets. And that's why Ivan Khoza found a way of ownership, right? But the ownership, yeah, man, yeah, Ivan Khoza, it has nothing to do with Pirates. You get what I'm saying? So if it's his own personal interest, that's what he's looking after, to say, okay, now these are my personal interests apart from Pirates. You get what I'm saying? And I think that's very hurtful, because in a sense, I think our football has enough money, to even say in each and every province, we can even go to FIFA and get outside investors and crowd fund these things, to say, guys, each and every province, let's build a state of the art, stadium, that can be used by the teams within the provinces, right? But that is not happening. We see the ownership being given to municipalities. Politicians have nothing to do with sports. They have nothing to do with football. You even have a minister that's appointed for Ministry of Football or Sports that has nothing to do with sports. You get what I'm saying? He's just there as an administrator, looking out for his own personal interest as well. And that's why it will take a while for us to progress. But man, there's a stadium that our government spent more than 100 million on it. George Tabe Stadium, it's in Sharpeville, right? The last time that stadium was used, I think it's Netherlands that was training on that stadium. They used it as their training pitch while they were preparing for the World Cup. And after that, since 2011, that stadium has never been used. Imagine the amount of money that was spent on there, right? And the reason why it's not being used or utilized by even the lower division, it's because of that ownership rights, where the municipality wants to dictate, as to how the stadium will be run, who will occupy the stadium. And now these teams, what do? They go to Isak Stadium, which is next door, which is slightly smaller with one grandstand, my man, But whereas they have now, I think, Marumo Gallants and Platinum City Rovers playing their home games at Isak Stadium.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but we have a stadium here that was built and improved, just for the Netherlands to come and train here, to be part and parcel of that World Cup. Now that the World Cup is gone, no one is saying anything about it. You look at it, HMPG also, it was tender fraud that was going on there. That could have been one of the best stadiums, within the Gauteng province. I think Sundowns would have been able to play most of their home games there, but that's not happening. So I think we need to separate politics and sports, right? And let the sport people run sports, and that's what's happening in rugby, in cricket. You get what I'm saying? It's been run by people that are in sports, not people that are in the politics, because politicians, they're so selfish, man. They're not thinking about the growth and the progress of football in our country. Whereas we've produced so many stars, man. If a country can produce someone of Benny's caliber, Lucas Khatebe's caliber, old John Mabizela's caliber, it shows that we have the talent. We have the players. We can compete high up there. So I'm just hoping, because the previous speaker mentioned Motsepe, that now he's the CAF president. I hope also he will use his powers and his connections there to say, guys, let's go and improve, facilities in South Africa. Because we've seen it in Egypt, we've seen it in Morocco, we've seen it. I mean, with the North Africans, when they had their president there, he looks after the interests of their football, And I think it's high time it also comes down to look after the interests of South African football, as a whole, to say, let's build more stadiums. Let's improve the stadiums. Let's improve the structure that we have. There's so many stadiums that are so-called owned by the government and municipality. The grass is big. The taps, the plumbing is like they're dilapidating day by day. You get what I'm saying? And that's something that they need to say, guys, let's sit down. Let's look at solutions. People must stop only looking after their own personal interests. A man like Kaizer Motaung, I mean, I don't think Kaizer Motaung would not be able to convince anyone in this world to give him money to build a stadium. Anyone. I'm not even talking about the president of the country. I'm talking about people, with proper money abroad. I think they'll be able to look into him, the heritage and the product that he's giving them to say, we'll give you royalties, just come and fund the stadium, with our fan base, every year, this is how much royalties you'll be earning. I think that could work. But people know they're not about that. They're thinking short term. Yeah.
Velile, welcome to the show, my brother. Tagababa, how are you?
Ngiyaphila kunjani bafo?
Right, ngifaka uDipen. Tell me.
I just arrived.
You just arrived. That's why ngilahlela kuDipen. Velile, we're busy talking about stadiums and why our teams are not owning stadiums. Yavele Ndabaga, Abu Dr. Ivan Koza, who have ownership separate from Pirates in stadiums and things. And in my head, I'm thinking, you've got different answers. Umutsepe, head of CAF, billionaire. You've got Dr. Ivan Koza. He's dealt with our municipality, how to get them on board in order to be an owner. Aboton committees have said that they have investors that they had for a Cape Town city coming in, that they wanted to go take a stadium, couldn't. Can't these people, man, basangane bonke and say, as the PSL, so Tangama Stadium, I 4-5, and then we're going to have them as assets for the PSL, but also to allow Hutama Timwe to, if they're struggling, they don't have to, jump, Makoni concert, Ilana, what. All of these people have solved the different problems, Maringati, solve velabona, and they have other problems that somebody else have solved and nobody wants to interact. Could something like that work?
Yeah, but on the bigger picture, let's put them aside. Let's put them aside about Mutsibe and about Koza, because they're already participating in terms of them also like being invested in Google and Machim about Ranai. But the bigger picture and holistically, this is a matter of whereby you just need a proper political will, Len. Because if you go to history, and we will say rugby, they've got stadiums, no, those stadiums they didn't build it for themselves. They were assisted by the government, and the government was intentional in doing that for the Afrikaners. Because sometimes we look at ourselves and think must no. Before they were British, the English speaking, and the Afrikaners. And the people who were running the country before they were English speaking, that's why they've started mines. Most mines here in the country are owned by the British guys, the English speaking guys. So the Afrikaners, when they take over, they so good, instead of like fighting and then they decided to start their own industry. That's when they brought the birth of Abo Sesol, East Coast Steel Industry, Eskom. Those were done by the Afrikaners. Yes, but they were intentional about that, doing it for the Afrikaners. And because it was intentional for you. So now, when we talk about, I think our government need to be intentional about that, especially when it comes to black people and soccer in itself. We cannot argue about the land. If you're a government, you are in charge. You can expropriate land. We've done that when we've built the Gautrain. We've done that. We're intentional about that. We wanted to do that. So I see because now Yeah, it seems like the government, when it comes to local municipalities, because those places and the stadiums are owned by municipalities, it seems like Nakona, we just deployed a West there in terms of managing. You will hear and say there's an MMC or MEC of sports, what, but the guy or the lady doesn't even have a clue about sports management. No idea, clue, nothing. But the budget that comes out for those dilapidated stadiums, we can see all over. In certain bases, it's is divided into two. There's different municipality. Ivory Park, which is run by Joburg municipality. Basically, but there's 4 stadiums there. Kune Stadium, kune Makhulong Stadium, eTembisa, on the Tembisa side. Ngapha Midrand side, kune Ivory Park Stadium, there's Rabarich Stadium. But I could tell you, zonke lezo stadium lezo, iMakhulung yayi-renovate isapha for World Cup. But now I don't know what Benz because now it's no longer working. But there's issues there. Izofana ne-HM pitch and angazi ngenze it's not operating. That's why kugcina manje ku-overflow i-Michelin Stadium. Do you see makudlala ama-Phillies game beyibonakala ngathi enye idampa ngazi yakuphi nje. So because it's overused, the stadium asakhona and it's dilapidated nazo. Ivory Park Stadium kuhlala amateksi laphayana. Bantu bayiqashisela ukugada amateksi, so angazi kwenzakalani. It shows also na management nathi and the municipality, which means are blacks. So the this picture from the black side and the white side. So we left our property and infrastructure to dilapidate. We don't invest in them. We don't hire people who can manage them properly. People who can come up with ideas in terms of how can we invest in sports development, especially soccer, build academies, use those township stadiums. This township stadium must operate in terms of like as the training facilities for youth in terms of development there. Example, Cape Town municipality, it was intentional. They didn't want to join committees because it's soccer. That's not debated. But they did take what's the rugby team? Stormers.
It's Thomas DHL. They've got a stadium next
door. They've got
door.
a list there now. A Cape Town stadium. For how long?
For how long? Was it a 30? No, it's not 30. It's 30, no?
Yeah. As long as they didn't even have to fight.
99. It's a 99. Yeah.
You see how they're not interested in soccer. We know Cape Town could do Uber no page. And they were intentional about that, making sure with the Stormers they've got a home. They're gonna demolish in new lands. We don't know what they're going to do with it, but it's gonna be demolished because apparently it's got problem. Of which now mas ngazibhekanga bekumele ngabe seyenzekile even nala eJoburg, the Joburg municipality. Manje but the different here ukuthi umasipala wethu akusulo wangale Cape Town nobelungu abantu abamnyama. Currently by now, I'm telling you, Lions, they should have been using FNP as their anchor match because there's a problem in Ellis Park. Companies and the supporters, the Lions, they don't want to go there in the Duranford area now because they say it's too much loss of crime. Buildings are dilapidated. There's nothing happening there in that part of Johannesburg. But now the problem is the municipality because they don't allow them. But I can tell you by now, those guys should be the anchor tenant. The Lawabanya Badliwe, Melfort, the bus was sinking in now. Because those one will come with pick up about just because we know if it's politics and the municipality pay the sales, but it won't be easier for them. But by now, and in future, Lions will occupy FNB Stadium. And it's even a second. So it boils down to it. Political will is very much important, especially when it comes to issue of land. But the municipality, if they want to, they can make land available for anyone, especially if it's going to be the development of soccer and the development of a country. They don't care about whether you campaign or in, but they know, okay, this one is for the development of soccer. It brings me business in terms of tourism, gonna attract people coming here, investing here. They won't have a problem. But they will, and also people abazi ukuthi isitoko sabo yini lapha. So unfortunately kuthi ubomasipala bethu abaningi hayi kumnyama ebusweni benkawu
but that's why ingako ngibuza ngoba uPanyaza is a PSL owner and I don't wanna say how it would happen. I don't wanna speak about how it would happen. But uPanyaza ukhona, high ranking government official right here in the pocket.
Yes.
Why even call the high ranking what now? He's gotten past this red tape, ownership Ellis Park or Orlando Stadium, right? Yeah. Surely that should be an advantage. Danny Joran was a high ranking politician. Surely that should be an advantage to have those guys in board meetings. At no point do they go, hey, Panyaza. And again, I don't want to say how, But now Panyaza, can you make it happen? Because usala so. Then it's around, you do this and this and this. Mas short imali. The CAF president just so happens to be a very rich man who's got very rich friends and very rich investors and very rich reach. On top of the fact that CAF and FIFA, he's got direct access there. Surely, man, at some point, Velile, they sit down around the table and they go, guys, must puna.
Okay. Akuselula ukuthi bakwenze lokho bona as individual njengoba mention ukuthi ubani ukhona lapho ubani ukhona, as long as it's not the policy of the municipality or of the government. Ayikho into ungakasa ume phezu kwe-FNB wenzeni, angeke into, if it's long, it's not, as I'm saying, if it's not in the policy of the government, and that's what I'm saying, the government must be intentional in doing that. Good, okay, this is our policy. If ufuna ukugibela lesitimela, hlika siyabonga. So that's why I'm just saying, if the government is intentional and it's a policy, bekuzoba lot of abokhozi even abopanyaza or even abomotsipe to implement it and just do this thing so simple, regardless of whether issue of land, if that land belongs to umasipala or belong to a private individual, if you're intentional as a government, umhlaba ubhelanga kumuntu akawusebenzisi, you take them. Kune part efuna ukusinika umhlaba, but esifuna abantu abamnyama sifuna ukuyivotela, but it's fine, that's still for another day. Take that land, give it to other people, build the stadium. You are intentional about doing that. So, but if the government, of which, because they remember government is they are the biggest guys. So, and also remember government is the biggest spender as well. So you need them. If it's there in their policy and they're intentional about it, they just need support.
Okay. Let me go to Kumo. Kumo, you've heard everything we've said, and I'm going to ask you the same question. I feel like all the answers to every question, they sit around each other every day. Their teams play against each other. But is there no strength in numbers where they could help each other, or at least help each other get over certain things, or benefit from it by creating, well, they already have a company, the PSL, where they have assets that can get returns on, and it helps carve most of the problems that the PSL has. Surely, man. It's not as difficult as we're making it sound.
Do you know what the problem is, George? Remember, the PSL and SAFA are governing bodies. Not so long ago, we had a conversation about you want to own a team, but you don't have the funds to maintain the team, right? So now, fine, let's say the PSL buys 5 stadiums, and you know how many teams we have in Pretoria. So what's going to happen when they all have to play home games at the same day? Who's going to get priorities? The Sundowns because of CAF, Super Sport because they're doing well. What about JDR Stars? What about Kaizer? What about Celtic Stars? So how do you do that? I want to create some other additional problems. Okay, fine. A lot of my fellow colleagues here that keep saying what my father must do corruption and benefit South Africa. South Africa and Africa has stadiums, guys. FIFA has already invested in South Africa for the stadium. So you always say Motsepe is corrupt, blah, blah, blah. Now you want him to be corrupt and give your lousy team stadiums. Okay. And the other thing, when the tender was out for municipalities to build Moses Mabhida, to build Greenpoint Stadium, to build whatever, you know, those stadiums that are in those municipalities. In their part of their bidding documents, and the people that doing the bidding, no the Maspala. Obviously, those top 5, Febo Avenger Group, King, Marian Roberts, you know, Banaba Construction, but the bidders nailed the Maspala because of it was a way for them to do tourism and to get traffic towards their province. So I can lie. Mara, more bidding, because of stadiums, they tend to have this white elephant element, this stigma to it. So this is gonna be a multifunctional stadium. Hence why Mabhida ukhonela bungee jumping, hence why the tournament is about WWE, it's about Cape Town, FNB and stuff. So when the municipality ehana Sundowns or Pirate or Tipper na E1. Which is the stadium the right exclusive. Yeah, it's already more spendile Zaga, and when we can't count for that Zaga spendile to justify the cost of the stadium, I agree something like elections. Rally vote la corrupt the spending X amount on football or where banal the pothole. To want balancing act dating Mara, even though your concerns be right the valid, Mara, we have to look at the broader picture and understand why the municipality era now one.
But then Kumo, just to go on that point, but then I would argue that can you imagine being a PSL owning a stadium that can be a multi-what stadium? What type of money would be coming into the PSL itself? You get what I mean? So if that was in your pocket already, that's why I'm like, for me, I hear that money generation things and stuff like that. Guys, and I'm going to use a stupid example. Casper Vest at Kaizer Chiefs Stadium. Would that not fill out? And you don't have to share it with Stadium SA. You don't have to share it with the municipality. It's yours, right? If that stadium was part of an asset portfolio that the PSL owned, now we're generating more money from different things as well, while also making sure. And my idea about the stadium wasn't necessarily that it's only 5. You can carry on leasing those who lease, but we know that there's 5 stadiums that should Stellenbosch finds itself in a situation where Danny Craven has a concert on there. We've got a stadium sub PSL that PSL owns. We could even say that when you come up from the first division, maybe your stadium is not up to scratch. Here's your stadium for the season. We share revenue with you guys. The team makes, if possible, the team makes money. PSL makes money. Isn't that part of the bigger picture of these things? Because for me, it feels as though, again, everybody who can do this, they literally sit around the table every 6 months as the PSL executive. And what I'm hearing from them is Committees wants a stadium and he's complaining that it doesn't have a governmental pool. Somebody else is complaining that they want a stadium, but then imalaiko. Committees found the money somewhere or could figure out the money. Others are complaining that, hey, maybe are we going to get the backing of FIFA or CAF? Kio Mutsepe, by proxy, I'll let him off, but Kio Mutsepe, he's got the direct line to these things. Okay, you're struggling with zoning. Dr. Ivan Koza got past zoning 10 years ago, 15 years ago. He's got the connects to do it. Surely at some point, I don't know if they haven't, but at some point, you have to look at each other and say, oh, guys, Kio Panyaza. Panyaza is literally the Gauteng Premier. If you want something to go into the ANC to be part of policy, as Uvelile says, he's sitting right there. You get what I mean? So at what point do they say, hey, guys, we can't keep getting kicked out of stadiums. We can't keep sometimes not being able to find stadiums. We can't keep doing that. And if teams can't own it, let's come together as a conglomerate, as a consortium of our own, you know?
And this is why Giluran Tunga Bora have.
Sorry, Kopa, Ochi, Kopa Zahanyani, I'm going to a meeting. Sorry about that.
No stress, Maronza, no stress, Maronza. Kuma?
Yeah. Do you believe for yourself? In fact, I love your idea. You know, it's any concert. I mean, like we are buying power at this nice PSL followers. I think buying power like a Palalea rugby and cricket combined. Get as a collective, I get it for a team. So, Mara, do you? Stadium like, you know how many dollars were spent for those stadiums at top notch, I'm mentioning it because of if you want to fill up Casper, whatever, whatnot, like Nelabo FMB and those stadiums were multi-billion-dollar facilities. As much as idea, I don't think PSL can afford the stadium.
But Committee said he already had investors for Athlo. He already had them. He says his only thing was municipality.
Will he have investors for Cape Town Stadium?
Well, you could you make Athlone the size of Orlando Stadium. Yes.
Okay.
And then if they come together, now think, that's what I'm saying. Okay, Comitas has money for that. Motsepe has access to money. Ivan Kos has access to money. Maybe if they did it in a sequence and said, okay, for the next 10 years, every 2 years, we're going to buy a stadium, upgrade it. And for the next 10 years, then it forms assets under a PSL, not necessarily assets under each of the owners. That's why I'm like, it feels as though everybody's fighting their own battle in their own corner, instead of them going, guys, we could literally, everybody's answered the questions that everybody's struggling with.
Yeah, I understand. Mara Motsepe has money, doesn't have access to to build his own point of correction there. It's complicated. And happen,
Can
I don't know if you know this thing, yeah, it's one, like if you really wanted to get over it, I want Twanina this thing, but you can adopt the spot. So like if you see municipal land there, what's one, and it's like land grab mara through proper channels. You can actually apply spelling or adopt and actually do something. So I wonder if maybe smaller teams because maybe they can find a space get up 20 beast, including Sundowns. But better that thing, Mara. I guess probably not zoning because they are more business and it's different, I guess.
Okay. Agent, you wanted to jump in?
I wanted to say, I think, you see the points that you are raising, that it looks like everyone has different challenges. Panyaza solves the political challenge, Abu Motsepe solves the money issues and stuff like that, right? I think it goes to what I said and what Vidile said, that it's difficult for PSL to go to or SAFA or individual teams or individuals like that to demand such kind of things or to ask for such kind of things. It has to be something which has to be done by the Minister of Sports and SAFA. I think those are the two guys who I think are feeling this kind of problem, And if you look at it, and I think Vidile put it rightly, said, and I paraphrase, it's a lack of political will. I think sports in general, especially the topic that we're discussing, in terms of political points, is the least of people's concerns, hence it looks like no one has the political will. Like I said, Sundowns with all the legal brains have been going between municipal and provincial government, for years now. So I think I don't want to blame individuals. I think even if they can come together, it's still going to create problems. Ole Opanyaza, even though he has political connections, how will he be able to convince the government alone that, guys, we need to do this? Because I think it's lack of will from the government. So I think we have to maybe look at SAFA as the motherboard and say, SAFA, what are you doing to put pressure on the Minister of Sports, such that the Minister of Sports can be the ones that can maybe force the government to move sports away from the municipals. Yeah,
I think my only issue, Agent, is as Uvelile laid down in his example of rugby and all of those guys, the DHL Stormers just got a stadium right now, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of things that happen in the background, but they've got a stadium, it's DHL Stadium, blah, 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 all of that is done, right? I don't remember them having to strike. I don't remember them having to do crazy things. I don't remember them having to do all of that. And it seems that they are running outside of the realm of government, even though I know Western Cape government is white and probably goes with it. But everywhere where rugby goes, it doesn't seem like whoever the government is, and I know I don't want to get that deep into politics, but it doesn't matter whether it's in the policy of the ANC, it doesn't matter whether it's in the policy of the EFF or the DA. They've they've sharpened their connections and network to the point where all of that doesn't matter. Now, I'm saying that as the PSL, if you see the struggles you've been having, my issue is all of the cogs are there. Ivan Kaizer got past the issue with his ownership group. The same issue we're speaking about. They didn't need to make it an ANC policy. They are owners of stadiums. You've got him. He's sitting right there. You know, you've got a guy, if you're looking at FIFA, for example, and obviously it gets shady, but whatever. You've got a guy who's at FIFA. Big hitter at FIFA. The biggest hitter in African football at FIFA, right? He's sitting right there. So if you have any other problems, there's a guy here, right? You have committees, for example, and I use committees because it was the loudest one, who's saying that, guys, I found the money for a stadium. I have it now. It's in my pocket, right? So you've got all of these people. No, Chipa said it at some point. Kaizer Chiefs wanted to build the stadium at some point. In my head, I'm going, but how are you hitting doors that people have opened right here, outside of SAFA? You know, and especially because PSL it runs more like a private company.
I think the answer to that is actually very simple. Like I said, and I think really reiterated the point that I made earlier. It's the legacy of apartheid. We can't run away from that, you know. And it would be interesting if you're saying Richard Thomas. Like I said, I don't necessarily follow white man's sport, but anyways, I don't wanna. It would be interesting to see where did they acquired from and from whom. You know. I want to highly doubt it will be from a municipal. I want to highly doubt that, you know. So if it's from another white guy or white
they're
company,
taking Cape Town. Is it Cape Town Stadium? It's a municipal stadium. Is it Cape Town? One of them. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know,
like it's Cape Town.
It's Cape Town. Yeah, it's Cape Town. So you see how I'm saying that there's a sport that, hey man, when they do things, they don't deal with having to change a certain government's mind.
I think it's best we don't mix the two, because
I don't want to go too deep.
We're going to be going.
Go into it.
No. Because you're going to end up talking about our white monopoly capital and stuff like that.
No,
you know,
not
that
necessarily
others
that. This is not
by
that.
the balls. Yes, in the words of Abutu Kuzo, that
my thing is the resources are there. That's why I don't want to speak about white monopoly capital or whatever. Ivan Kaizer owns 2 stadiums. He's in a consortium that currently right now owns 2 stadiums, and it's big ones, Orlando Pirates and Ellis Park. I don't know what else, but all currently.
It's by proxy, you should add. It's by proxy. That's the most important part.
Apparently it's separate. Apparently his situation is the same as Mutsepe's situation, where privately in the consortium, he's not by Orlando Pirates. Apparently the Ellis Park ownership is actually Ivan Kaizer on his own with a consortium of people that own Ellis Park, not the Pirates. So it's like, he's got, even if we look at it that way, by proxy, he's got the connections to do what they did at Ellis Park. He's there. The resource is sitting right there. You get what I mean? That's what I mean by this.
I think for me, I think I'll let others speak, but I think for me, like I said, it has to be the responsibility of the Ministry of Sports and Recreational Activities, and SAFA has to be the ones who put in a stake between the 2 hills and say, guys, do the thing. You know, I think unless and otherwise, I think once we talk of teams and individual owners putting pressure, I don't think it'll work, to be honest with you. I think
do they need to put pressure? Do they just need to buy the land and do all those things as a company? As the unions run in rugby. Blue Bulls company.
I don't know, like I said, because the thing is, you're bringing me to a space where, and these people they also have me by the balls. So
okay, no, I hear you. Let me bring in Malube Kutso. All of the resources are right there. Malube Kutso, they're right there.
Mr. OT, you know, in life, and I like that when I'm listening to people, because I went off the call and I listened on the channel. in life we know the answers, but somehow, just like cheese boys and cheese girls are made to feel guilty for growing up in stable homes.
Yeah.
Black people are made to feel guilty for expecting their government to come through for them. You understand? We watched an episode of Cut Blanche. We saw it where they were shaming a team for benefiting and benefiting accordingly. We see these things. This is exactly what happens to cheese boys and cheese girls. That's why we have such words where we say, I want to cool soft. And that thing, it doesn't matter. We want that love. We all want to cool soft. You see, when Nuput Verida said, those ones, they also benefited. It took me back to the captain, the first captain to lift the World Cup. I think it is Francois Pina.
Yeah, Francois Pina.
Where he explained that BEE is nothing. BEE yenza kancane. And I think he was talking about quota players. The fact that maybe they expect 30% players to be black in the team. He said there is nothing. Under the previous regime, the quota was 100% white. That thing is a quota on its own. It said the team must be 100% white. And when you are crying that someone is saying the team must be 30% black, 70% low. You understand? During those times,
hey, Bakata.
Intentional. And I said,
Just say that again. Just say that again. You cut there for a bit.
Oh, I'm saying during those times, their government was intentional. And I'm saying there because that time it was there. They are one of us now. We are all together. And I'm saying our government at some point knew what football meant to the people. That is why the colors of Bafana Bafana are what they are. Because of a certain party at some point identified with the people largely, and everything that identified with the people identified with that party. Things might have changed right now, and it's a very serious problem. Our government must stand for us. And even when someone is asking, what will I benefit? That question is not wrong, Mr. OT. It's very right. What will that person benefit? As an influencer yourself, Mr. OT, you know, if they are going to pay you, you must influence us. They will ask, what are they going to benefit? You will say, I will influence Malume Kutso there to buy your soccer balls. You understand? So if someone there is asking, if I give the stadium to Chiefs, what will I benefit? Chiefs must have the answers. They must offer a share of the cake, of the pie. Give them a piece, Mr. OT. You understand? And obviously calculate the piece without harming yourself, Mr. OT. So even though he did not say it, they must be corrupt in our favor. And I said corrupt in our favor because something they call them corruption, and you turn around and you're like, what you're doing there, Mos, yourself? Well, what do you mean it's corruption? I'll give you an example. Gratitude gifts are a norm in corporate South Africa. Go and give someone a gratitude gift in government. You are bribing. You understand? So when I say corruption, I'm saying where the lines are clear. I'm not saying come here and steal money. I'm saying there are practices that we need to break the shackles and evaluate them more. Is this corruption?
Malume Kutso, besides that point, my point is that a lot of the time, when you look at the situation and you hear them speaking, it sounds as though it's this mountain, Malume Kutso. They make it sound like it's this mountain. Then you do some research and you realize that on this call, Malume Kutso has solved my problem. I've solved Agent's problem. Agent's got a problem that Kumo solved. Kumo's got a problem that Velile solved, and so on and so forth, right? Surely, at some point, if this WhatsApp call was a company, right, and we're all facing problems and we're seeing, hey, Chalet is not doing well, surely at some point we'd all sit around and say, hey, Mara guys, can't we solve each other's problems in the favor of this company that we run? And I like it when we say the PSL runs as a separate entity to SAFA, right? They didn't have to speak to SAFA necessarily in order for them to sign a rights deal. They didn't have to do all these things. So surely those powers that sit in that room would be able for the PSL to own 6 stadiums, buy 6 stadiums, deal with municipality, do this, do that, at a private company, even to their benefit as proprietors of these assets. Is it not possible?
It's possible, Mr. OT, but we must do it gradually. And like the South Arabians, I support that teams like Pirates, Chiefs, Sundowns, if maybe 10 years ago I would have said Swallows as well, but right now I would like to put Swallows on ice. Teams like Chiefs, Pirates, and Sundowns, and possibly SuperSport, must get the backing of the government, and they must get unfair favor because of what they contribute, especially SuperSport. Actually, I can stand on my chest and say stand on it and say SuperSport for what they've done for this country in terms of developing players and developing upstanding players and human beings. I will say those teams must get unfair favor in the fashion of benefiting and getting stadiums in their favor, 9-9. And I'll point and say the former president of Mamelodi Sundowns, when he goes to a family gathering, when he's tasked to slaughter a cow, the other person holding the other foot of the cow is the president of this country, Mr. OT. It's not just me, Tom, Dick, and Harry. And he's sparring. When he says sparring, he's talking to the president of this country. So then they must assist us, Mr. OT, and tweak the rules and cut the red tape. We must benefit, Mr. OT. Yes, man, for wanting to benefit as black people, because it will be on carte blanche and Nazis. So how much it's there, the answers are there, and the people are there. All they have to do is cut the red tape. Nazi, when you hear one day the red tape was cut, don't go out in the streets and do it. Understand, which was done for the benefit of a team that employs more than 100 people, Mr. OT. A team that is sustainable. You know, and that's another reason I'm picking Sundowns, Chiefs, Pirates, and SuperSport. It's that by closing your eyes, even, and if you had $1 million, you would bet that Chiefs, Pirates, okay, maybe Chiefs Ganzane, but still, Chiefs, Pirates, Sundowns will exist in 5 years' time. You understand that, Mr. OT? And SuperSport, you can close your eyes and say yes.
They've existed from the beginning. Those are the 4 oldest teams.
Yeah, understand.
In the PSL era.
I did not even have that information. I can just see with these ones. We are benefiting from their existence. They are employing. They are paying King and Dolly 1 million. Those ones, and King and Dolly is able to spend money there on people. You understand? I don't know what type of people, but he's able to spend money. So we are benefiting, Mr. OT. So those things must be taken care of by our government, just like in Saudi Arabia. Like that's why I said some things we think they are corruption. That's the very thing I'm talking about, OT. Even when you find out it's about AC Milan, Mr. OT, about Real Madrid, these are teams that were funded by the state heavily. But when if we do that, it will be on carte blanche that the state is funding Pirates, the state is funding Chiefs, their corruption. They must not be afraid to be corrupt in our favor, Mr. OT.
Okay.
Let me cut my political tone a bit.
Let me go to. I think at this time I'm going to ask everybody for their closing statements. Jenny, can you give me a closing statement for today? Jenny, can you hear me? Hey, maybe Molome Kuzo went too political there. Velile, Takababa, I know you just arrived, but I'm going to ask you for a closing statement.
No, akunankinga mntaka. I think uyabuthi ukhutsho ukhave kahle kakhulu, because also to add on what you were saying, into abanga-understand, what umasipala waseMsunduzi Maritzburg has done to Royal AM, it was correct. There was nothing wrong that they've done, because they've been doing it all along, giving imali to Maritzburg United since the time of insufficient white card status, the classic moving into Maritzburg. They've been sponsoring that.
It's no different to cheaper with Nelson Mandela Pay.
There's
no different to many deals.
And there is no different to also to Ethekwini municipality by giving in njalo imali to Amazulu, Golden Arrows, and now Richards Bay, I think it doesn't fall, but Amazulu Arrows ziyathola na the Ethekwini. Khona imali abayithola for umasipala wayo. And there's nothing wrong about that. It's just going back to they must also be able to also handle the communication department, but they must not be clumsy. The biggest problem when they've done that, remember my headquarters was Samarisburg, if you don't know that. That Royal is Samarisburg. That's their base, actually. It's not good the team from Ethekwini. No, it was using my facilities because they didn't have any facilities. But their base is in Marisburg from the days of Lokunyani, in Royal what? Royal Eagle. Still.
Royal Eagle.
Yes, but the only clumsy part of it that they've done, when they've done that, then they've decided, I don't know, to stop funding Marisburg or what, they've just kicked them aside or whatsoever. No, they don't need to do that. They're supposed to still continue and also support Marisburg with Ibuye food na first division again. So so that they employ people from Marisburg and do all the other stuff. And also the other ones now who had this opportunity and they let it slip. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's not Maspala, but I think it's one of the royal families somewhere in the northwest. They had it their team up. Okay, it's fine. It was Platinum Stars, which was the family and that team was supposed to be a source of economical in terms of sports, because they've built their facilities, they've even built them the beautiful stadium, the
Sports
Palace. Yeah, it was Sports Palace. So regardless, angazi mhlawumbe akuphele imali or kanjani, but angikhothi imali iphelile. They've just decided to do anything otherwise than but they were supposed to continue with that project up until ngazi kusikwa amakhetla or why of that. Make sure the Platinum Stars it's in PSL and they pump in money, make sure with the development of sports and soccer on the Bafokeng nations, it reaches the potential full level. Actually, if we can also to do that, then everything will be fine, Bab.
There's been my conspiracy theory now about those things is you can only pump money for so long before you start asking questions about Mara guys. Imali na yangena sifaka ma stadiums and we do all this stuff, but then for me, and this is me on the outside, and as the inside, but for me, it seems as though there's a lot of places where the league has stagnated. And imali yami angisayitholi le return that I could have gotten 20 years ago.
No. If you're a municipality or a nation like Royal Bafokeng doing for your people, they're not making for profit. If Platinum Stars are able to sell 3 of the players that are homegrown talent from a Pukeng or from a Ikakeng or from that area to Sundowns or to overseas, that's an achievement. You groom another ones. That's a cycle. There's no profit making there. The aim is not to make profit. It's for the development. You're doing it for a nation. Because remember, the money that comes in for you to run that team or to run that program comes from the natural resources of that country and of that people. So the aim is not the profit. The natural resources must sustain their people. They were supposed to continue that project. The project was not about making profit. Make sure that we produce the best players coming out from the Rustenburg area, whether they go to Kaizer Chiefs, Swallows, or Sundowns or overseas. It's better. You bring another one. That should be the cycle, because you're improving the standard of living from Bona. That's the aim, not
but it needs to be sustainable at some point. So
it will be sustainable because it will be sustainable because there's still platinum underneath of South Africa. It's still there. Umtsipe is splashing it to Sundowns. Why?
Umtsipe is the president of CAF right now.
The Arabs, they've given those money, from the money of oil that they produce their country. I feel from the sky.
With the hopes that at some point is over sustainable that thing, and you can run them into another place.
Run it properly. Hire the best qualified people to run it for you. If you perform, you fire.
Exactly. Manje abakhona ukuhire ku PSL, but hey, let me not go too deep.
Okay,
let me not go too deep. Angifuni ukuzingena too much. Hey, ngizaze ngikhulume ezinye izinto. Velile. Let me go to Kuba. Kuma, closing statements for today.
Hey, yeah, you guys have said so many interesting points. Baban, you got about thing, Mara. Cape Town Stadium, now it doesn't sit well because that stadium was meant for football and not for rugby. So I understand the municipality's prerogative to actually decide who they give it to. Mara, and FIFA can intervene because it's politics again. But then again, whole level on the flip side, ish, rugby brings in more revenue compared to football. So it's gonna be hard to argue. I want to But yeah, man, all I can say is that let's hope everything goes well. We actually have our own Yellow Nation Stadium, and especially here in Tshwane, there's so many stadiums here, man, bruh. That they could have converted if the municipality in Silone Irahala. But now I'm convinced that Motsipe doesn't really care about corruption. Obviously, another one, no one can feel in mine. Get sharp, sharp.
Let's say you guys are gonna stumble over things. I think the saddest part about Cape Town Stadium, from what Kuma was saying as well, the saddest part is that essentially the footballing fraternity built a stadium for another. You know what? Anyway, let me go to Agent. Agent, what are your closing statements for today?
The views and opinions expressed in this show are solely of the speakers, and my silence does not mean I agree or disagree with them. I'm only responsible for the statements that I have made.
I was gonna say that at the end.
And I support all the 110 parties. Please.
Even kids.
Any party, all of them, I support all of them, please. But I was being honest, and football wise, I hope that Sundowns through the legal channels and they can do the requisite things and stuff like that, and they can get, in the words of Yogesh Sai from the Sunday Standard, not my words, Yogesh Sai, they quoted him saying that he's facing red tape. I hope South African fraternity can help him get over the red tape. And I think hopefully the government respectfully can intervene and help people like our committers who have investments to help build the stadiums, respectfully so. Thank you.
I was gonna ask the question before I stopped. Okay, all I was gonna say was we were speaking about PSL teams affording stadiums. Can certain teams afford stadiums too? But you know what? It's fine, Agent. It's okay. Let me leave it alone. Closing statement from you.
No, but so to George. No, they don't need to afford them. They can listen to them.
No, that's why Bengiti. It Cape Town Stadium.
No, they can listen to them.
Oh,
it's not a problem.
It Cape Town Stadium. For what reason?
Woolman, yes, Woolman for soccer.
And then all of a sudden, a team has it. Could they afford to build their own one? And maybe being tough on PSL teams. But anyway, you're saying.
I think we can say, let me get out. I think this is the first stop.
So, okay, no time. I think that's a Kubegi.
What's a closing statement for today?
I know it's been a good discussion. I'm back. I've left my political voice and everything.
Yeah, let's all leave it alone. Yeah.
I was very close to saying Viva, what Viva? But it's fine. I personally think, Mr. Uti, Aquana must strides in Ziwe by these teams. Chiefs tried building a stadium in Mukhadi City. I don't know what happened to that. It was a wrong move to begin with. I don't know why they would go to Mukhadi City when their base is here. And knowing how much people love teams, people will travel, Mr. Oti, from KZN. Katabi, we see them, Some of them, when they're opening their boots to take out alcohol, you see blankets there. You can see he was sleeping on the road, this one. It's from very far. They understand. And we appreciate their commitment to the game. So there was no need for them to go to Mukhale City. People will always come to them. The Sundowns, I've heard with them, they are trying. Cape Town City, they are also trying. So we can give them an A for effort.
Yeah.
However, I feel like the powers that be, I will repeat, the powers that be, whether the powers are wearing red, whether they're wearing blue, whether they are wearing yellow, they need to come to the fore and support the football. It is no secret that we love football, and it is no secret that football is the biggest game in the world. Second to none. We can try and do what and live in a shell, but football is the biggest sport activity in the world. So I'm of the view we should try as South Africans to get the tourism going, and football will go a long way. Some people, it dream was to go and watch El Clasico. Some people, it dream was to go watch the Manchester Derby or Liverpool versus Man United, and tourism will benefit from that. In those countries, they will definitely benefit. It's not only about visiting the beach in Miami or going to see the Eiffel Tower. It's also about seeing Paris Saint-Germain play. So if we can push our league, if we can support our league, our football, we'll see tourism also growing. I mean, the Sundowns is playing beautiful football. If only they had a nice home ground, they would also benefit straight from the AFCON to say, let's go and see the Sundowns, man. You know what I mean? I found this
Okay.
You understand, Mr. Oti? So Cape Town. I also want to give it to Cape Town because I see a certain, not only race, but a certain class. They are starting to attend stadiums. I saw those committees appreciate I was like, hey, this is so normal. But
you sound far away.
I sound far away. Am I closer now?
Yeah.
I saw John committees when the camera zoomed in, and I saw with them, these people are having fun. They are building a very nice family culture. The Cape Town
it's so nice.
The Cape Town municipality needs to come to the fore. The other race is really starting to support Cape Town City. They are wearing their jerseys. They are looking so nice. It's there. Football is not only for black people if it's a race day. Football is for everyone. Football is in England. Football is in Spain, played by all of these races. They need to wake up and smell the coffee. We are ready to welcome them, and they must support Cape Town City. We are demanding that this. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, Var. No, guys, thank you so much for the conversation. Let me just see some of the comments. I think Lyrical Pope is not necessarily about football versus rugby. What I'm saying is that take, for example, what Cape Town City is trying to do in Cape Town. They're not asking the municipality to give them the stadium. They're saying that we will renovate. I think it's Ethlo. They're saying we've got the money. We found the money. We've got investors who want to renovate. So whether or not rugby is number one or rugby is number two, it's not a team getting it for free. It's a team saying, we are looking for a home. We want to renovate this thing. We want to stay here. We will carry the costs. We will also bring whatever we bring towards the city. So it's kind of disparaging to see that during the World Cup, the point of building those stadiums was for South African football to get better and not to suffer. So now, if you sit with a situation where teams in South African football can't be allowed to lease a stadium that was built for those purposes, right? And then those stadiums are leased to other people. You then ask the municipality, would the stadium be there if not for the thing that SAFA brought here? Right? And that was the question I'd asked a long time ago, where I was like, for me, it doesn't make sense for Bafana Bafana not to be able to play in certain stadiums because they have to pay leasing money when the mother body of that sport is who built the stadium for whatever purposes, but it was built for them. So now, what is the benefit that gave to football? And that is why a lot of my points that I'm trying to make is Now PSL, they have the troubles. At what point does the PSL as its own body, a company that we've all said is separate, go, let's go and build these, let's go and change these things. Got to host, what is the end product? They build stadiums for teams that couldn't go past the group. Sure, but there's another stadium at Athlone that the municipality could upgrade for that other sport if they wanted to. Do you get what I'm saying? Doesn't matter whether they built it for this or that. It was built by a specific association and mother body. Therefore, if I was doing that, I would have petitioned all of the municipalities and said, okay, these are the terms and conditions that we have for using this. This is what they do in the NFL, for example. In the NFL, if you want to move a team or your lease comes to an end with a specific city, they go around the country and they go, okay, guys, we are X team. What are you offering us for us to move there? For example, Chipa United did the same thing with Nelson Mandela Bay. Royal AM did the same thing with Umhlatuze. So for me, that's what I'm saying. And again, Lyrical Pope, he's not saying that we're going to find investment. He had the money right here. He had it. It was in his pocket. It's in his pocket right now. And he's saying, you're not using the stadium. It's dilapidated. It's dying. We, as Cape Town City, want to build that stadium back up with our own money. With our own money. And even if it's a situation where you then lease it back to us, it's fine. But we want to be first in call, just as FNB with the PSL, with Chiefs and the PSL, just as Orlando Pirates with Orlando Pirates and the PSL. If you want to take Chiefs out of FNB for a league game as lessees who are paying money, regardless of whether the stadium is full, they have right of preference because they're paying the money. So if it's the municipality wanting to generate money, the team's coming with money. And that's why you can't kick Chiefs out of a league game at FNB. That's why you can't kick Orlando Pirates out of Orlando Stadium during a league game of the PSL. They have to be the ones that sit down and go, okay, we will move. But anyway. Guys, great conversation. I think these are things that we should ask more questions of. This is the whole point of the platform. This episode, for those who are late, will be available in full on Facebook and on YouTube. I'm going to upload them later. You can watch them back in other really cool conversations we've had on this here platform. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This was the Members Show. The Members Show is the guys who fund the show, essentially. Those guys get their own show where they get to pick the topic and they get to speak more than anything, and it can go anywhere where it can go. If you want to watch the normal show, Monday to Thursdays at 7 p.m. And then also we have watch-alongs over the weekend of the Big Three, Pirates, Chiefs, and Sundowns, as well as Bafana Bafana, Banyana, and Women's Champions League, other games, like for example, Banyana style playing Champions League. We've watched those games to watch along. So please, if you have not followed, please follow. I'll see you then, guys, tomorrow for the games. Bye, guys.